So as Russia's invasion of Ukraine is now entering into its fifth year, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a pretty stern message to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a video address from outside of the presidential palace in Kiev, Zelensky said that Putin had failed to achieve his goals in Ukraine over the last 4 years, adding that he would do everything to achieve peace and to ensure that there is justice.
Putin has not achieved his goals. He did not break the Ukrainians. He did not win this war. We have preserved Ukraine, and we will do everything to achieve peace and to ensure there is justice.
Zelensky also spoke to the European Parliament to thank them for their continued support. The Ukrainian president has sought help for a €90 billion loan. But Hungary, which maintains some pretty close ties with Moscow, has used its veto to block the aid package. Zelensky has also received a standing ovation from the parliamentarians at the end of his speech.
Thank you, dear President Zelensky. Thank you, dear Volodymyr. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all these.
And in Kiev, the EU leaders met with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, the European Council President Antonio Costa, and Finland's President Alexander Stubb and Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen joined Zelensky for a prayer service. So at the NATO headquarters in Brussels, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte echoed Zelensky's comments that Russia had failed to meet its ambitions on the battlefield. He also called on the Russian president to show that he is serious about peace.
Ukraine continues to blunt Russia's aggression, and despite Putin's posturing, Russia has failed to meet their ambitions on the battlefield. Putin must show if he is serious about peace. President Trump has been clear from the start that he wants to end the war now. The Ukrainian people deserve a just and lasting peace. Their security is our security. There cannot be true peace in Europe without real peace in Ukraine.
The French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also extended their solidarity to Ukraine. In Paris, Macron chaired a video conference with Coalition of the Willing Nations. And with the war continuing to rage on, the Russian attacks in Ukraine have continued. In the latest, the Russian drones have struck Zaporizhia, wounding 5 people, including a child. Firefighters were seen battling a fierce blaze which engulfed residential buildings and the parked vehicles. And earlier in the day, Zelensky in fact appealed to the American President Donald Trump, urging him not to walk away from Ukraine. In an interview with CNN, Zelensky stressed that America must stand with a democratic nation that is battling the will of the one man. Zelensky also described Russian President Vladimir Putin as the driving force behind this war, saying that the conflict is centered on him alone. In Russia, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that the fighting continues, but that Moscow remains open to achieving its aims through political and diplomatic means. Peskov further added that the West's decision to intervene in the conflict meant that it had become a much wider confrontation with nations that Russia believed want to crush it. Now, the war began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine on the 24th of February back in 2022 and has since become Europe's deadliest conflict since the Second World War. Now, tens of thousands of Ukrainian civilians have been killed, entire cities have been reduced to rubble, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides have been killed or wounded.